First thing is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me? I am here. First of all, welcome to everybody. I'm really delighted to see such a packed room tonight for our special guest speaker as part of our project on Above the Parapet, who I'll introduce very shortly. I'm Pema Sen. I run the project called Above the Parapet, where we are looking at the stories, the pathways, the journeys of women who've reached seniority in public life. And we're doing that because I think most of us know that the presentation of women, the representation of women in politics, in academia, in other parts of public life is really rather poor, whichever part of the world you choose to look at. And we're doing this research so we can find out how women have actually made it through those labyrinthine or rather troubled pathways to seniority, so we can learn from them and think about how the journeys of women who follow can be made more possible, more manageable, and more successful. The project is very generously funded by the annual fund at the LSE and the Alison Weatherfield Foundation, who deserve particular mention tonight because their funding is helping us to bring fellows, perhaps we should call them sisters, to the project at the LSE to spend some time with us, to reflect on their journeys and to give us time to push them a little bit and get their stories so we can learn from them. Some of you may know that we had former President of Malawi, Joyce Banda, with us in October last year. And I'm delighted that we now have former President Rosa Otunbayeva of Kyrgyzstan with us at the moment. And just so I can flag with you, we have Ruth Simmons coming shortly, who was the first black woman to head an Ivy League university. We have Sylvia Tamale coming from Uganda, academic lawyer, very, very important woman in lots of academic and legal debates. And in June, we will be joined also by former Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard, on the project. So we're going to have an incredibly rich database, resource base of women's accounts and testimonies. We've already got, correct me if I'm wrong, Daria, about 80 interviews completed or planned over this year. It's a very rich resource base, and some of you, if you're free, might want to join us next week when we're looking at what is emerging from the research, and we'll be consulting on what would be useful for you to know and who you think we should take our findings to as we wrap up the project later this year. So please feel free to stay in touch. I don't know if you've got brochures around. There are some project brochures available tonight. And if you want more information, please take a look at our website, which you can access via the Institute of Public Affairs slot on the LSE website. So I will leave you there. If you want to talk to us more about the project, we'll be available at the end of the session. But really, it's absolutely a great delight for me to be able to introduce Her Excellency, Rosa Otunbayeva, who joined us today and with whom I had the great pleasure of having an initial conversation this afternoon. I'm really, really looking forward to what more she's going to tell us tonight. What an incredible journey. I said to you we're talking to women in politics, we're talking to women in diplomacy, academia and civil society, and really, Her Excellency has a foot in at least three of those camps. So let me quickly run through some of what she's done. She actually started off in academic life herself as a professor of philosophy. She then became Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Soviet Union, and then moved to Moscow to become the chairwoman of the National Commission for UNESCO. She then became Deputy Prime Minister back in the Kyrgyz Republic after the fall of the Soviet Union. I hope I'm getting the sequence right. And she has a very long list of achievements, which I, with her permission, have agreed not to read all of it to you. But I do want to say, she was 3 times Foreign Minister. She's opened 2 new embassies for her country, one here in the UK and one in the US. She's been an important diplomat too. And in more recent years, she became head of the transitional government in Kyrgyzstan and the first woman president of the Kyrgyz Republic. She also presided over a referendum which was held there and the drawing up of a new constitution. She really is, as a magazine called her, a fearless woman. And she really is, I think, a really inspiring figure in terms of presiding over a massive political and social transition in her country And here's the important thing that not many leaders want to do. She stepped away from power peacefully and democratically. Please, Your Excellency, we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, and it's a privilege and honor for me to be at LAC tonight. And I understand this is the public lecture, not only LAC students are here, but nevertheless, I appreciate so much. I pay my tribute to this school, one of the leading schools in the world, and you are lucky that you are here. Kyrgyzstan, I want just to remind you to say a few words about my country. Kyrgyzstan is a Central Asian country, as you know, 5.7 million population, 2,000 square kilometers in between China. We have 1,000-kilometer border with China, 1,000 almost with Kazakhstan, with Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. So we used to hear and say that, look, we are a landlocked country and it's difficult to build business there. But behind us today, with this 1,000-kilometer border, there is an ocean, China, with 1,300,000,000 people and very rapidly developing Xinjiang Uyghur region. We are trying to build today a new Silk Road through all of those Central Asian countries. And my country is a multi-ethnic populated country. About 80 ethnic groups live in Kyrgyzstan. What else? It's harsh climate, hot in the summer, cold in the winter, but very good winters. We love our winters because you can come and ski in our countries. So, and growing industry of ski sport. And I do believe that for sure will be a great attraction in the decades to come. My country passed through quite a difficult political journey. I just came from Dubai, where we had a Madrid Club's session. I'm the member of Club de Madrid, which contains, which has about 90 leaders from all of the world democratically elected, the former presidents and former prime ministers from 56 countries. We have discussed the matter of MENA region, the future and perspective of MENA region. And you know that the latest development in the world is worrying, a lot of uncertainties. You are a younger generation than us, and we are worried a bit what kind of world we leave to your hands, because all these facts of growing terrorism and religious fundamentalism, it worries us. In Dubai, we've among us been the former president of Nigeria, Mr. Obasanjo, and all of us were asking what is this Boko Haram is about, and what's going on, how to persecute such a facts. In my country, in 2010, we passed such events which people call color revolution, but I don't care about those color revolution. I do believe that was our indigenous revolution when we put aside corruption and thefts. After the collapse of USSR, as you know, major, huge processes have gone in our countries. First, it was privatization, what belonged to all the public. In 20 years, in quarter of century, started to belong to 10, 15 of the best 20% of population. Others became so poor that a lot of migrants, my country has a lot of migrants in Russia, in Kazakhstan, and because of the sanctions in Russia, today a lot of them, they are coming back home. Joblessness is a big problem for our countries. We have in Kyrgyzstan the problem of building a new environment, business environment. Kyrgyzstan is getting to be a member of customs union, and people, our friends in the West, they say, why you are going to the customs union? Where we should go? What is other options? What are other choices? In front of us, Russia, behind is China, nearby is Afghanistan, and so on. We are going to the union where 15,000 per capita is like Russia, 12,000 is Kazakhstan, and we do believe that this is a more prosperous economical perspective for our country. So I should speak today about my journey, not about geopolitics and of politics as such. And if you would ask, then of course I'm supposed to respond to your questions. But topic today, and I was invited to LSE to speak how women might escalate in their career up, and it is very difficult. I recall my grandmother, who was married in 13 years old, and she gave a birth about 13 children. 3 of them only survived because of a lot of illnesses been around. And when her husband died, she was given as wife. She was taken as wife to the older brother. Levirat practice was spread around. Women in such a nomad society as it was Kyrgyzstan in the 19th century, beginning of 20th century, it was a very hard life we passed through. Nevertheless, we've been all the time open-headed, no paranja, no other such Islamic, let's say, clothing we wear. Today, unfortunately, we are a lot of young women. They are going back, and because of the influence of some forces from outside. When Purna started to ask me for her research, and she was asking what was the ground, what was the base, how I became the first president in Central Asia. Central Asia is probably only part left in the whole on the whole globe, alongside with some Gulf countries where we have election and the same presidents. And we have the situation where, of course, we've been propelled by the Soviet system in the past. We had a quota, and I don't understand women in our part or other parts that you don't need quota. Look, if women are like birth machines, giving the birth for more than 10 children, and they are taking care of the whole household, and they are not given other opportunities, and then you would go to politics and absolutely no preferences, and struggle alongside with the men who would sit and never cook, never do any household work just because he was born as man. So I think it's unjust. I think quota is absolutely normal, temporary measure which we should use And as head of state and as now post of such a senior politician in my country, I do believe we need quota. And in post-Soviet life in Kyrgyzstan, we had a time in 2005 when all the men been elected to the parliament. Why? Because they had the money. Elections in our countries are about money. If you have money, then of course you can literally buy those votes. And women, they are not business people, they don't have so much money, and this is, of course, the reason why they are not in the parliament. After the Soviet days, we passed quite a difficult time, rough time. Women been, they got on their shoulder all the difficulties of transition time, and microfinancing, it's about us. Poverty is about us. All the problems of transition is about us, women. And politics was in the hands of men. Men been very busy with splitting all these public goods, privatization, all sorts of appropriation. That was about men in our countries. So women didn't take such important position. I grew up in the Soviet days. I must confess you that it was good time for Kyrgyz and for Central Asian women. We had a good education. We got good education. I have graduated myself from Moscow State University. I've done there my PhD also, and I came back to Kyrgyzstan. I was head of philosophy department in Kyrgyz State University. I worked there 6 years as a teacher, as we said, docent, which is less than professor. And then I started to be involved in public work within the Communist Party, and then became Deputy Prime Minister in charge of social affairs, and I was a foreign minister in Soviet days. Foreign minister in Soviet days, it's sort of nothing. I mean, we didn't do anything for republics. I mean, it's not for the giant superpower which was the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union vis-à-vis the United States, it was a big foreign policy, you can imagine. Even with the foreign minister whose name was No. So, nevertheless, in each country, we didn't do anything significant, mostly protocol, consular issues. So, one day, Mr. Shevardnadze has invited us in Moscow, all the foreign ministers of the Soviet republics, and he asked us what you are doing and what we should do as the foreign minister of the Soviet Union. So all of us, and I do remember well that Baltic countries came up with harsh critique that, look, it should be done completely different way. And all of us have been very critical, so me too. And in 1989, Minister Shevardnadze has invited me to come to Moscow to work for him. And I became chairwoman of National Commission of UNESCO for the Soviet Union. And I was, I'm proud to say, I was a member of the board of Foreign Minister of the Soviet Union in the time of perestroika. It was crucial time, very important time. And when I became president, I figured out how I cooked my brain and how resilient I became to this time of 2010. So we passed through this time of such very rough, very difficult changes of perestroika and glasnost. The time was exclusively important because this board of 25 people, we were discussing the latest development, like withdrawal Soviet troops from Afghanistan, rejoining Central Eastern Europe with the West Europe, how to deal with those Baltic countries, and so on and so on. And in 1992, as you remember, Soviet Union collapsed. I have decided to go back home, and I was invited to be a foreign minister. So 3 times I really was. I headed our foreign ministry, and I must tell you, my broken English is because I started to study my English when I was 40 years old. So it is after the, just before, during my probably work in UNESCO. So I was exposed to the world. I was supposed to speak on behalf of the Soviet Union. I was supposed to speak on the language which is known to everyone. So before that, of course, we had foreign languages in the Soviet days also. And I studied my German und in der Schule, später in der Universität. So, aber ich habe vergessen mein Deutsch today completely. So today. While I was working in UNESCO, I started to study my French because, again, when you are in France, you should speak French for sure. And French, I recall, I have surviving French, in other words. That's what I would say. So anyway, English was crucial for us, for a young country, for young diplomat. And I started to bring up diplomats who would really speak foreign languages, and we started to open our embassies. And in '92, when you remember that all of us republics been cut off from this Russia, and very difficult was to survive. We've been like a fish on the ground, and where to get food, where to get everything to survive. That was the main our problems. Then I was sent as the first ambassador to the United States. I have opened this embassy and traveling through the whole country, telling them that this is the new country. And that was the time when they would look at me and they say, "Oh, Kyrgyz look like you. I understand. We understand. All right, Kyrgyzstan, a small country, heading to democracy, will help as much as possible." I came back in '94 as foreign minister, and so forth and back, and at least I worked 3 years as foreign minister. And again, your question, Purna, is why me, who was all the time sort of heading the foreign ministry in time when everywhere been really men. And men in this audience, look, you are ruling the country, you are ruling the world, you are everywhere. And of course, in our part of the world, it's not obvious. Although women are the most literate in our part of the world. Women, we analyzed just recently, because we have celebrated 90 years of Kyrgyz women's movements, and so we do realize that today we have almost all teachers are women. 70% in medical service are women. A lot of women are in trade, they are in hospitality business, in finance, and so on and so on. Yes, but they occupy quite a low position. We do not have big business which will be occupied by women. Very low business, microfinancing, yes, it's about women. No women oligarchs in our countries, in my country, for example. We should turn now to economical advancement of women in our countries, in my country especially. NGO sector is completely occupied by women. If we have in Kyrgyzstan about 1,200 NGOs, then 95% of them are occupied by women, which is great. We do a lot of work for the governments. I should come to the time of revolution, because this is what you are asking me about. In 2010, we've been at the situation when corruption was on the 7th floor of our White House. We call White House the main government building. 7th floor where president sits and prime minister. So the corruption came up to this floor, and everyone knew about this. Family ruling. This was, by the way, the second revolution. The first was 2005 when President Akayev ran away from Kyrgyzstan. His family was ruling the country, and young people sometimes ashamed that Kyrgyzstan is known via revolutions. I say, don't be ashamed. Look, we are cleaning up the country. What we can do if the whole country was corrupted, starting from doctor, from militiaire, up to the prime minister, up to the presidents? What we should do? How we should live on? There is nothing left for ordinary people. Everyone is just getting their stake. If you ask children what profession he wants to choose, children will tell, I want to be a customs worker, or I want to be tax worker, or I want to be... this is terrible. Nobody says, nobody wants to choose other professions. So in 2005, I've been in opposition. We had this, the first hour revolution when President Akayev left the country. He wants very much come back. He feels very uncomfortable these days in Russia, probably so. But the nation doesn't want him in Kyrgyzstan. He should answer to many, many questions back in Kyrgyzstan. In 2010, when Bakiyev came to the power, we thought that it will be much better, democracy will come. No, this family was even more greedy, and they started to privatize many things immediately. So in April 2010, this is just very soon, we'll commemorate from the White House, 87 people been shot that night on 7th of April. I must tell you, of at least this crowd of people, you should know that situation in Kyrgyzstan in 2010, it was absolutely similar to the situation in Ukraine. In Ukraine, more than 80 people died in Maidan, and in February, when they celebrated or commemorated 1 year of Maidan, all of leaders from all over Europe came to Ukraine. Because we do not have problem, we do not write, we do not have journalists posted in Kyrgyzstan. There is no information about us. Russian, they don't speak about our revolution. Nobody speaks about our revolution. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, nobody wants such a disturbance. Everyone wants stability and keep going. And in my country, it's happened so that Bakiyev ran away after when it's happened. The same night, as leader of opposition, I came to the White House and I said to the Prime Minister of those days, Huseynov, just write a letter to us that you are going away. You should leave the office. So he wrote me a letter after 1 hour, and the whole power of Bakiyev collapsed that night, 7th of April. And we're supposed to build up new power. The parliament ran away. They are like mouses from the toppling ship. They ran away. The president left to the south, the part of Kyrgyzstan where he's from, and we didn't have anyone. Blood was around us everywhere. 87 people died, hundreds and hundreds wounded. So that was the situation on 5 years ago. And that night we have decided that we'll introduce a new constitution. Autocratism should go away. It's enough. According to new constitution, parliamentary democracy should come to the country. And that was 3 months we put such a deadline. In half a year, we said we'll conduct parliamentary elections, and in a year time we'll have a presidential elections. That was the timetable. And the same night I was chosen as head of interim governments. I bought this book about the interim governments, what is the practice throughout the world over the 20th century. I do hope that one day someone will write experience of our interim government. We've done everything. We've done according to our table which we planned. Today, look at MENA region and or Ukraine. Look, if you are not fixing the problem, the same momentum, then you would have, like in Ukraine, 5,000 dead, 100,000 mobilized young people, and billions and billions loss of economy. So you should take a situation, fix the problem, and take the country out of crisis. And thanks God, it's happened so in my country. We started to work on constitution. In 3 months it was ready. Hundreds of people work on this constitution within the constitutional such a venue. And deputy, one of our, the most experienced was in charge of that. Day and night they worked, and this is completely new constitution. In the former Soviet Union, everywhere you would find only a presidential such a governance, and we have passed this. Nothing positive come out from that. And today again people say, oh, it doesn't work parliamentary democracy, we want to go back to presidential, someone should rule, otherwise country doesn't work. Look, we 25 years we've been in this presidential. So it is not sort of such a, how to say, toy for this governance machine that, I fed up with this and I want to have another governance. So today we are, I keep to say that we should have a patience. All these countries in the West also, they have passed a very difficult time. Look at Germany going through Nazism and so on. Of course, democracy is very, very such a difficult governance and with very sharp such a как это лезвие, господи. Yeah, so I mean, you should work very, very safely with that, and nevertheless, this is the best so far mechanism and machine which we should concord on. So in 3 months constitution. And unfortunately, 10 of June 2010, clashes between Kyrgyz and Uzbek took place in the south of the country. And people died, and it's unforgettable, very, very such a difficult time in the history of my country. It is not the first time. It was repeated events. In 1990 we had the same events. June 10, this event, and 27 of June we're supposed to have a referendum on constitution. It was difficult decision. Should we go for the referendum or should we stop after such a tragedy? And a lot of all sorts of advices I got, and we had a session of our interim governments, and I must tell you, nobody, even our strategic allies, they didn't recognize us. They said, this is a sort of coup d'etat, and what kind of people came to the power, we don't know them. We are, as the post-Soviet Republic, we are member of Shanghai Organization of Cooperation, we are member of CIS, we are member of a couple of other local regional organizations. Nobody of them let us come to those meetings because we are sort of now such bad guys. And nobody is in law not chosen, let's say. So, although they are chosen sort of leaders. So, with this regard, I was interim head of interim government, but not allowed to be a member of those organizations. So we've been in nowhere. And referendum, when we had a 27th of June referendum and constitution has passed, and all people, they voted. We had very good numbers of people who came to vote. They vote for stability. Of course, they vote for stability. My name was in this text of constitution. You would find my name that I will have her as president in interim. So, and as soon as referendum has passed, I was only person legitimate. The whole country was on my neck, and until the time when Parliament came in another 3 months. So all these 3 months with technical government, the country was legitimized via my legitimization. So that was difficult time to build again all these branches of power. In 3 months we had parliamentary elections, open elections. You can imagine what are elections in our part of the world. So today, unfortunately, for the people who should really recognize those elections are just or open or transparent, they are sort of, it seems to me, for them it is equal. Every time they say everything was fine in Turkmen case, in Kazakh case, in Uzbek case, in any case, you see. But in fact, this election been the most open, the most transparent election. We didn't have any deal with the Electoral Commission. The party which was allied to the previous government, they came first. 5 parties became a member of the parliament, faction of the parliament. So, and thanks God, today we are approaching this fall to the parliamentary elections. All this, the whole parliament worked 5 years. We are learning about the parliamentary democracy. Everyone who hates this parliament, I think they are wrong. Look, they are learning. This is something different. This is check and balance, a new form of governance. Not one president decides everything in this country. Not at all. We have 120 parliamentarians. Immediately, if I done something wrong, it comes to the table of parliament, and it will be open, completely open, all my bad debts. So, and with this regard, I think we've done a good job with the parliamentary elections. And in October 2010, we had the presidential elections. So I have conducted all those 3 elections. All of them have been recognized by international community. We build up all the branches of the power. As soon as new president was elected, I passed my power to him. And I want to show that, look, one day such a person like elected president should pack his valise and go away, because he doesn't inherit the power. It's not given forever, and he's not genius at all. We should rotate the power. That is my message done by me concretely. And as in my post-presidency today, I have my foundation initiatives of Rosa Otunbayeva, and I do a lot of work for children, for women in my country, and one of the priorities of my foundation is preschool. Unfortunately, my country is a very young country. 800,000 children we have before the 7 years, and I'm turning my country to the clear point that after 3 years is late. We should put all the skills, a lot of knowledge to the children in very early age, and this is one of our priorities. Only about 15-17% of children in my country, they go to the kindergartens, and this is something what worries us, that we are losing in the quality of education, we are losing of the main our resource, people's resource, so this is important. We do a lot of for young women also. I have a good program about mentorship. It's very spread around in the West, in Americas, everywhere. In my country, and probably in other countries also surrounding, they forgot about this, about the mentorship. It was very active in the Soviet days also. So mentorship for young women, for girls, which is very important. When I became president, I immediately put forward a lot of women candidates to the high position. And I do believe that it is job for every woman leader. The Prosecutor General is a woman in my country still. One was, now another one is Prosecutor General. Chairwoman of Supreme Court is women, and it's not just because I signed this that you would be like that. No, they go after my selection, they go via Parliament. They are approved by Parliament. They are professionals. They still work more than 4 years. I'm very proud to say about this. We have chairwomen of accounting chamber women, Minister of Finance, Minister of Education. So we have quotas which provides 30% for women in Central Electoral Commission, in where else? In some other such positions. So, and 30% men, women been in the parliament. Sort of zebra in the party list. But unfortunately, as soon as women leave her seat from the parliament, she replaced by men. And now we want to put another amendment to law that she should be replaced again by women. And this is life, and you can't provide recipe for all the cases, and we would do this very soon. And I hope that the new parliament will be again with the 30% of women. And I just came from the Brussels, where I met with high officials in the European Union, and I do understand that Mr. Juncker, he has his agenda to make 40% of women in the European Union Commission, which means, again, great progress, and United Nations does the same. Mr. Ban Ki-moon told about this many times. World Bank does this. So, I mean, we need such concrete steps, concrete actions, and then in many countries will be done with the same. This year is 20 years of Beijing platforms. We are celebrating 20 years. 15 years of the resolution of Security Council 1325. And it means that, and I, by the way, I worked for the UN peacekeeping mission in Georgia, and it was 2002-2004. And of course, again, Purna was torturing me today that why you and why women and how you have escalated. Women can make a peaceful resolution of many things. Women are patient people, patient person. Women have intuition. Women have something, the seventh feeling. Women can get into the matter without any such reaction. Men they are exposing to each other forceful solution and position. And I supposed to listen everyone. I supposed to, in time of fire, to go to the people for whose children been shot in front of the White House, to those who died in interethnical clashes. Thanks God, we have still secular leaders in neighboring countries. And when I talked to President Karimov, who is a secular leader, who respected me, and he said, yes, I'll do this, I'll keep the border closed completely, and you do what you can do in your country. So that was very decisive step, because if the border will be open, then we'll go plunge into the between the countries, in the clash between two countries. So, I mean, he kept his words. Women, generally, we live in secular situation, in secular countries. I am a bit worried that for such a rapid Islamization, which is around in all our countries, including Russia also, it's really a big challenge for all of us. I want to see the future of my nation secular, bright, open for women, for girls. I brought this topic of vision of girls recently on the National Women Forum. Never heard about this, that girls will come to the audience and speak about their concerns, perspectives, vision, and so on. We got it, we had it now at the National Forum, and I would pay a lot of attention to girls. And again, I was the oldest among the political leadership who came on April 7. I got a lot of experience, international experience, and you should be recognized internationally also. I don't think that my comrades, they thought, oh, Rosa is sort of recognizable international, that's why we should choose her. It's not a bunch of bandits who came to the power, but they would see that she's, no, not because of that, seems to me. Because I was a leader of opposition in Bakir's time in the parliament, was vocal and very such openly criticizing them. And I had my timetable, I had my mission to do, and I've done this. I've done because my country deserved peaceful life, deserved democratic development, deserved a better future. That was my mission about